The JBL Tour Pro are back and they're ready for the future. I review lots of different earbuds each year, and some are interesting, some aren't that interesting, and occasionally one pair really catches my eye. That happened with the JBL Tour Pro 2, which have this case with a display on it. Interesting immediately, which means making a video about them is more interesting. Now we have the JBL Tour Pro 3, and they've got some very interesting updates over the Tour Pro 2 and a new-ish Bluetooth technology, which is genuinely game-changing, which I'll get onto later. But first, let's just get into these. Now, this video is sponsored by JBL because they want to help promote that Bluetooth feature, which I'll explain later. But every single opinion you're about to hear about the Tour Pro 3 is my own. Right, specs and pricing for the JBL Tour Pro 3. So they have a hybrid driver setup for JBL Pro sound, which is a 10.2mm driver and a 5.1mm balanced armature. That's slightly bigger and slightly more complex than what's in here, which in theory should make these sound a bit better. The frequency response has been improved as well, so it's now 20 Hz to 40 kHz. There's 6 mics included for noise cancelling and calls. The Bluetooth is 5.3. They also deliver high-res certified audio wirelessly, either via the smart case or with LDAC, which is Android's native 24-bit high-resolution audio codec. That delivers 3 times more data than Bluetooth, which means the audio quality is, well, it's very, very good. And in terms of battery, you'll get 11 hours with noise cancelling turned off, 7 hours with it turned on, and 44 hours in total with this charging case. Water and dust proofing has been uprated to IP55, and the box includes loads of silicone ear tips and a pair of foam ear tips, which is interesting. I'll get onto them in a moment. USB-C to USB-C charging cable, obviously, but also a USB-C to 3.5mm cable, which is interesting once again, and once again, I'll explain what that's for later. Price-wise, they're £279.99 in the UK and $299.95 in the US, and you can order them today. Okay, let's start with the case because, well, look at it. It's got a display on it, and it's a touchscreen display as well. So if I just unlock it, we can scroll through and do lots of stuff on the case, which is unlike most other earbud cases. In terms of the way it stacks up against the previous version, we can see that the Tour Pro 3 is a much bigger display than the Tour Pro 2. They've made this vastly bigger, and it's better as a result. The case itself is still chunky, it's still big. It's a little bit, it's not quite as tall as the previous version, but it's the same thickness, I think, roughly. It feels about the same sort of weight. It's not heavy, to be fair, but it's big. And if you've watched this channel for any amount of time, you'll know that I'm obsessed with headphone and earbud cases. They have to be the right size, or if they're big, they have to have something to justify being that big. And for this, it's that display. Now, straight off the bat, this isn't for everyone. I said on my review of the Tour Pro 2 that it's an acquired taste. And for me, I couldn't really find much of a use case for it beyond occasionally operating the play controls, just because I've got those on my watch, on my phone. I'm just used to using those devices to interact with audio playback. But your mileage might vary, and once again, it makes these interesting. If you're wondering what you can do on the case, I've made a very quick list. So there's play controls, there's noise cancelling and ambient mode switching, there's Bluetooth setup, so you can choose your different devices from the case. There's spatial audio, Auracast, which I'll get onto in a bit, EQ, there's a timer, there's a voice aware feature, which you can turn on, which is where if you start talking, it dips the volume of the music. There's Find My Buds, so if you lose your earbuds and you can't locate them, you can press a button on the case and it will play a tone through the earbuds so you can try and find them. And it previews your messages from your phone if you want it to. There's a lot you can do with them. It's just whether or not you intend on using your case versus using your phone. In terms of the bud design itself, it's a stem design, which gets my vote immediately. It just means once you put it into your ear, you can twiddle around, and I just prefer it to stemless buds, basically. They are touch sensitive for the controls, like play controls and switching your ambient mode settings, which isn't my favored choice of headphone or earbud control, but they're responsive, they're not too annoying, and you can use your case anyway. You could use your case to stop and start music and that sort of stuff. Oh no, I've just knocked the water over. Ah no! The stuff you don't see on these YouTube videos. On to audio, which is my favourite thing when it comes to JBL. The reason for that is that I'm a bit of a JBL fanboy in terms of the noise their stuff makes. And the reason for that is that I used to work in live audio for many years. And if you've been to any number of gigs or weddings or events where music and stuff is playing, I can guarantee at some point you've heard a JBL sound system. And what JBL do with their consumer stuff is build that live audio sound and all of their heritage into something like this, something this tiny. And that's really impressive, and it has quite an impact on the audio. Now, out of the box, they were a little bit bright for me. The top end was just a little bit too much, so I went into the JBL app and had a play with the EQ, and it's the most configurable EQ I've ever used in a headphone or earbud app. It's unbelievable. You can change every single frequency on the spectrum. You can have multiple points, you can save multiple presets if you want to, so you can get these sounding pretty much exactly as you want. So I just brought down that top end a little bit, scooped out the middle a little bit, which is my favorite sort of sound signature, and then rolled off everything below 30 hertz. They retain that kind of, like I say, that JBL sound, that JBL Pro live sound. It's definitely there, which means it's just exciting. These are an exciting pair of earbuds to listen to, and that kind of translates across most types of music, which is quite a feat. And again, it illustrates that JBL knows what they're doing when it comes to audio. They also have spatial audio with head tracking, which is when you move your head around and the audio appears to stay in one fixed location. For music, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but if you're watching movies and TV shows and that sort of stuff with these, it's great because it gives you a proper immersive and very realistic experience of watching TV from a single source. So I'm glad they've got those, and I think that it's gradually becoming something which we should expect at this price point. So I'm really glad that JBL have built spatial audio into these, but I think if you combine that with the audio and with the fact you can use the case as an audio transmitter. So for instance, if you're sat on a flight and you want to use your Tour Pro 3s to listen to whatever movie you're watching, you can actually plug this via this USB-C to 3.5mm cable, if the airline accepts it obviously, into the airline system, and then that will transmit the audio from the airline system into these. You can do the same thing on a treadmill, on your laptop, basically anything where you perhaps don't have Bluetooth available, or for whatever reason you want to plug this in. You can do it. You can do that on the Bowers & Wilkins PI8s as well, and it's genuinely useful, particularly if you travel a lot. Noise cancelling is very good. I think for the price, they work fantastically. They cut out most of the environment that you don't want to hear. However, the fact that they have these foam tips makes it even better, because these create a really, really good seal in your ear canal, which means even more of the world outside is blocked out just naturally via that kind of seal. So I love the inclusion of those. We should see more of this with earbuds. So noise cancelling is very good. The transparency mode does the job. It's not AirPods Pro 2 levels, but then nothing is. I can't find any other brand that can match the AirPods Pro 2 when it comes to transparency mode, but it's pretty good on these, and it does mean that you can use these quite happily for telephone calls, which I know is important to a lot of people, and I can confirm they work perfectly. He says as a tractor drives past the studio. I'm not joking, we have a tractor shop just down the road. On the box for the JBL Tour Pro 3, you'll see a little symbol for Auracast. Now, Auracast is basically a Bluetooth technology which was released relatively recently, and it enables you to broadcast a piece of audio to lots and lots of different Auracast devices. So it's a little bit like radio broadcast, but you don't need to be the BBC. You don't need to spend millions on broadcast equipment to get into people's ears. And it's perfect for sharing music, for sharing movies, for sharing presentations. If you're a speaker and you want to reach a lot of people in a single room without having a great big PA, that is what Auracast is for. It's basically limitless Bluetooth sharing. Now, you won't see this everywhere at the moment. It's one of those kind of nascent Bluetooth technologies which has been bubbling away behind the scenes, but is gradually coming to the forefront, and you will start to see it in venues and at certain places. And I got to test it and experience Auracast at IFA in Berlin in September. We were given 3 different scenarios. The first one was the airport scenario. So this is where you're waiting for a plane and you and a few mates want to listen to the same piece of music or watch the same movie on Dave's iPad, for instance. And normally, well, you're normally restricted to 2 people who've got AirPods, or you pass them around, or you have the right ear in your right ear and the left ear in Dave's left. It's really annoying. So Auracast means you can stream that one movie to, let's say, 5 or 6 people's earbuds easily. The next setting was a bar setting where you sat in a great big pub or a venue where it's really noisy and there's something that you want to watch. There's a game on TV, there's a football match on TV that you want to listen to the commentary for. Imagine if you could use your JBL Tour Pro 3 and tune in to the Auracast audio stream from that TV. And not only you, but everyone else in the pub who wants to do the same thing can do it without any limits. You don't run out of connections. It's as many people who want to jump onto that Auracast stream as possible can do it. We tried that at IFA, and again, the quality was amazing. It's just like connecting, well, it is actually connecting your earbuds directly to that device. It's no different to regular Bluetooth in terms of the quality of the audio. You can imagine that being used in a gym as well, where you have a great big room and one corner of it is used for a spin class where the people doing the spin class want to hear the instructor and the music, but you don't want to play all that stuff out to the rest of the gym. Auracast, JBL Tour Pro 3, happy days. Then we had the auditorium example where you've got a speaker who is talking through a mic and his audio is then being broadcast via Auracast to lots of different earbuds in the room. Now, a great example of this is press events where you go to these great big launches for products and quite often the PA system isn't up to scratch. And if you're right at the back, you do struggle to hear the person on stage. Imagine if they had an Auracast broadcast where I could pop the JBL Tour Pro 3 into my ears and hear that person on stage perfectly. It would make such a difference. It's why this technology is so exciting. Now, Auracast isn't abundantly available at the moment. You're not going to find it everywhere, but it is slowly coming into being. And the fact that the JBL Tour Pro 3 have it built in is a really good thing for these earbuds. It just means they'll last longer. So if you buy these now and you start to see Auracast broadcasts taking place, or you want to use them yourself, these fit the bill. Okay, conclusion time, and I think the JBL Tour Pro 3 are a very easy pair of earbuds to recommend. They're priced right, they sound fantastic, they've got great noise cancelling, they've got little extras like these foam tips which are genuinely useful for comfort and for noise cancelling. You can use the case for audio retransmission via that cable, which if you're a frequent flyer is very, very handy. And they have Auracast built in, which is helping future-proof them. You may not use it straight away, but if you go to a venue in the near future and you can use Auracast, happy days. And they have a case which has a display on it. Now, you may use it, you may not use it, but it makes them interesting. And it makes videos like this hopefully more interesting to watch. And if we need anything at the moment, it's interesting tech. So JBL, please keep making products like this. If you want to check out the JBL Tour Pro 3, just click that link in the description. And if you want some more audio-based content, keep watching for a link.